Another thing that I'd like to remind myself and all of you of in these ayat is that Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. It's really heavy words. Allah didn't just say He gave you spouses. That would have been easier. وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم أَزْوَاجًا. Allah provided you spouses. Good enough. Nope. Allahu ja'ala lakum min anfusikum azwajan. Allah furnished for you, provided for you from your own selves, from within yourselves. Now, contemplating this, some of us had really interesting thoughts. Who are you? You and I are human beings, and the word to be human, the word insan, is tied to uns and isti'nas. It's tied to compassion, love, care, courtesy. Those are feelings that human beings were given inside of them. To have regard for somebody else's feelings. Like, for example, when Allah says about not entering people's homes without permission. Like if you went to some friend's house, you can't just walk in, right? حَتَّى تَسْتَأْنِسُوا, until you can feel that you're wanted, right? And so you shouldn't go at 3 a.m. to your friend's house and say, he doesn't mind. I can just walk in. No, you can't just walk in, and you shouldn't go at it at an uncomfortable hour. You should have the sense of when this is a courteous thing to do. The word for human beings is actually directly tied to the word for care, courtesy, feelings, love, compassion. Uns and isti'nas. Allah says He made my spouse from the same elements that He made me. If I have feelings, if I have thoughts, if I have considerations, she does too. And a spouse should think, if I have feelings, some things bother me, I love some things, I care about some things, he cares about some things too. And they can't be the same. We're not the same. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. He differentiated between the male and the female. So we both have feelings, we both have sensitivities, and at the same time, we're both really different. And when Allah says, min anfusikum azwajan, there's a really beautiful, ishara in these words. There's an indication in these words that because they are from me, I have to try to feel, if they're saying something that's hurtful, where's that coming from? What feeling did that come from? What would make her say that? It's not just because she's evil, or not because they're just arrogant. Those are easy answers, right? This person's so arrogant, they said this, this, and this. But maybe behind what you think is arrogance is pain. And you have your way of dealing with pain, and they have a very different way of dealing with pain. And their pain comes out in hurtful words, or what you think are hurtful words. So if we develop this isti'nas, then in our family relationships, you wouldn't see your son as being disrespectful. You would see behind that disrespect something happened that needs to get resolved. There's a wall there that you need to break with your love and compassion. And you need to do that purposefully. You need to understand the larger purpose. Allah wants these people that were put in a family, Allah wants them to stick with each other. Allah wants them to overcome their barriers. وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَجَعَلَ لَكُم بَنِينَ وَحَفَدًا. It's also interesting that in these ayat, Allah provided you children. Allah provided you in-laws, grandchildren, others that will serve your purpose, others that will be of benefit to you. Allah is saying that and all of it starts with azwaj, meaning you get married. When you get married, you connected to another family. Because you connected to another family, maybe one day you lost a job or you had a difficulty, and it was your wife's cousin's friend that helped you out. There's connections that are made, that Allah provided help for you, rizq for you in ways you couldn't have imagined because of that relationship. Because connections were formed through that. So Allah is telling us that we should look at the human relations that we have and the impact of those relationships as all part of Allah's plan that He provided. The people that came into my life are people that He provided. That doesn't mean that it always works out. It doesn't mean that everybody's great, but it does mean that we have to look at everything purposefully. We have to keep that in mind first and foremost, And now finally, I say this last portion, that riddle that I didn't quite solve yet. أَفَبِالْبَاطِلِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Are they going to believe in falsehood? Are they going to believe in, why even talk about falsehood? This ayah should be about gratitude and ingratitude, but Allah made it about faith and disbelief. So it's so interesting, So what do we learn from that? Actually, we learn from that my iman, my faith, is actually directly associated with how grateful I am. The more grateful I am, the stronger my iman is. The less grateful I am, the weaker my iman is. And when I'm focused on things that aren't true, like batil means I'm looking at my family and all I see is problems. All I see is these are the people why my life is so difficult. This is what they did, this is what they did, this is what they did. All you have is this list of blames for these people. And it's always what's living in your head constantly. You're reliving it. I still remember what you said. I still remember what you did. And because this shapes your view of them. Now you see them as these people that all they are is a source of pain. That's all they are. This is a batil. But because these people, even if they caused you pain, behind them is a ni'mah of Allah, and you must discover that ni'mah. And you cannot, if you just reduce them to just a curse in your life, if you reduce them to just some kind of, evil or hurtful people, they're human beings, they're not devils. Nobody's an angel and nobody's a devil. Allah created angels and devils, those are separate species. We're human beings. You know what that means? We do good things like angels sometimes, and we do bad things like devils sometimes. We're human. So you cannot just take some good things and say this person always does only good. And you cannot take some bad things and say this person all they ever do is bad. When we reduce people, especially in our families, to their mistakes, and we beat them over the head with those mistakes, and we create a batil narrative about them, then we have actually denied a favor of Allah. You're not seeing the good in them. You're not seeing their ability to overcome the bad that they did. Human beings can change. Human beings can grow, they can evolve. But you've started believing in batil. And Allah calls this believing in batil in the ayah. Subhanallah. Just this one small ayah, but it changes the way I see myself. It changes the way I see others. I no longer tolerate the conversation, oh, your uncle, he's never going to change. Oh, your cousin, he's always going to be like that. Oh, these people, I know, you don't know. My dad, is just hopeless. That's just hopeless. Who are you to say? Who am I to say hopeless? Who are we to determine the future? أَفَبِالْبَاطِلِ يُؤْمِنُونَ وَبِنِعْمَةِ اللَّهِ هُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us real compassion and gratitude for the family that He's given us. May Allah Azza wa Jal give you the wisdom, the strength, the guidance to overcome the challenges inside of your family, to be able to have deep, meaningful, rich conversations purposefully with your family, and to remember always that behind all of those challenges, it may be difficulty at face, but behind it is a favor of Allah.